Hi everyone, this is Thomas Gunn at Das Haus, and today we're going to be making a German version of donuts. Now, it's not your typical donut with, a hole in the middle. Excuse me. These are drop donuts. So the region where my family comes from, which is Kassel, excuse me, which is about 2 hours north of Frankfurt, these are called krepeln. So I guess you could always Google that. I think it's probably spelled Krepeln. I'm going to look that up myself later actually as well. And I'm going to be doing half the recipe because I'm only one person and I don't need to be eating 50 donuts. So you can easily, if you're a group of 4 or if you're having a party or whatever, double this recipe. But like I said, I'm going to be doing a half recipe. So yeah, I'm just going to walk over quick and get my ingredient list so I can tell you exactly what it is. Alright, so for the half recipe, you will need 250 grams of flour, 125 grams of sugar, 250 grams of quark, that's Q-U-A-R-K. You can normally find it in the grocery store in the section where you find the sour cream. 3 eggs and 3 teaspoons of baking powder. Alright, so that's for half the recipe. You will also, in the meantime, heat yourself up. I'm going to use a smaller pot because then I don't have to use as much oil. These are obviously going to be deep fried. Heat yourself up some oil. I'm bringing it up to temperature. It probably will need to be around between 300 and 350. I'll let you know exactly when I drop it in. But you can always check if your oil is ready by dropping in a little piece of the dough and seeing if it starts to fry right away. You want enough enough oil in your pot so that when you drop the donuts in, that they will be submerged in the oil. Alright, so let's get this going. I need to get myself a teaspoon. Let me just get that. Alright, so let's start off with the eggs. So 3 eggs. Let's crack those into a bowl. So that's 1. I always use large eggs. Got some shell there. I think most recipes are designed for large size eggs. So let me just get rid of these shells. So into the eggs we're going to whisk our sugar. Again, if you've forgotten the amounts, they will be in the description box below. So let's whisk that together. Into that we're going to add the quark. Now, this is what quark looks like. It looks like a very thick cottage cheese, I guess. If you can't find quark, you could substitute. I have done it with cottage cheese. Just try to find the smooth cottage cheese, and if you can't, just pulse your lumpy cottage cheese in a food processor until it gets relatively smooth. I wouldn't be surprised if you could even use cream cheese. I have not tried that though. So let's get that mixed in. Alright. So into our flour, I'm going to add, I like to mix my baking powder into my flour so that it doesn't all lump up in one spot. So that's my 3 teaspoons of baking powder that I'm just going to mix into the flour. I'm going to take out my whisk because this will become too thick for a whisk. Dump that in. Get my spatula and just mix this together. And that's it for the dough. So I'm going to be dropping these into the oil the old-fashioned method using 2 teaspoons. I would imagine you could use an ice cream scoop, probably a 1 tablespoon size. I have not done that. I actually went out earlier today to my grocery store just in case they actually would have had one. They did have one, but it was too big. Because keep in mind, these do expand in your oil. So don't drop in, don't think, oh, a teaspoon looks too small or my tablespoon looks too small. They do expand. All right, so there we go. That's the dough. So let me just move my camera over to the oil. I'll take you guys with me. So there you can see my oil is heating. So presently my oil is at probably way too high a temperature. That's too hot to touch. So I'm just going to drop in the tiniest bit of dough and see what happens. That's frying well. So I'm going to turn down my heat a bit. So right now my oil temperature is at 400, which is probably too hot. But I know that dropping in the donuts will bring down the temperature quite quickly. So make yourself a teaspoon, heat a teaspoonful, take the back of your other teaspoon, push it off your spoon into the oil. So that's what you're going to keep doing now. I'm going to tell you right now that I know my oil is too hot because these are cooking very quickly. So like I said, I wasn't paying attention. You want your oil at about 350 degrees. I'm just dropping in more because I want to lower my temperature. So there we go. I'm going to get myself one of these Chinese, well, Asian, I don't know what country they originate in, strainers. See, these are too dark. My bad. But hey, live and learn. I wasn't paying attention. So that's not the end of the world. I'm just going to put those aside. So get yourself a bowl lined with some paper towel or a napkin, just so that the oil will drain off. I'm going to put those aside. These are not good, so see, everybody makes mistakes. Don't worry about it. So try number 2. Let's go again. So we're just going to keep dropping these in by the heaping tablespoonful. Okay, let's let those cook down. You will need to usually help these flip. See, like that's just at the right spot. You don't want it any darker than that, so my oil is probably still a little bit too warm. You don't want them dark, you want them a golden color. But see, now it's not bubbling quite so riotously, if that's the right word. Yeah, so this temperature, now we're at a better temperature. Let me check. just so that I can tell you guys what temperature it seems to be at. I'm going to put my thermometer in there. Yeah, see, we're still a little high. We're at exactly 400. But it's coming down, so that's okay. These are still too dark. I'll pull those out. And I'm going to take my oil off and let it cool down a bit because I don't want to keep burning everything. That's ridiculous. So, but there you go. Mistake 101. I'm glad you were able to see that. We're going to let the oil cool down and I'll come back and we'll start frying the rest of it. Okay, so I've lowered the temperature to 350 degrees of the oil, that is. So let's go again. Actually, let me just clean off my spoons here. And another reason you can't fry them too quickly, incidentally, is because the outside will be done and the inside will still be raw. So you need to fry them at a slower rate. Let them get golden. So right now I have my stove set on medium heat just to keep the temperature of the oil where it needs to be. I'm going to do 4 at a time now. I don't want the temperature to drop too quickly. You know what, I can put another one in there. Let's do 5 at a time. Obviously it's going to depend on the size of your pot. Alright, so as you can see, these are frying away much slower, which is what you want, you know. But you got to see, you know, everybody makes mistakes at home. Let me just turn one really quick. See how pale that still is? That's what we want. Let them fry slowly to a golden color. Turn up my heat just a little bit. So now my heat is on a medium high. But just look for small bubbling around the edges. If it starts to get too what's the word? Too bubbly, too riotous, whatever the word is, then you can adjust your heat. So just stay by your oven. I'm going to drop one more in because I see I have the space. I'll put one right there. Let me turn one over. Yeah, see, that's kind of the color you're going for. You want a nice golden brown, not those pieces of charcoal that I was making earlier. So there we go. We've got the right temperature going now. Alright, so you're going to keep those going. You want them to cook, you know, like I said, fairly slowly because you want the inside to be cooked as well as the outside. As you're going along, you could always take one out, cut it in half. I mean, let it cool down for a few minutes, cut it in half and see how it's going if you're on the right track. So I'm going to keep making the rest of my batch. So this is already 1, 2, 3, this is 5 and I did 2 batches before. That's already 15. So this half recipe will probably make at least 30, I would think. So keep that in mind. So when these are done frying, all we're going to do is roll them in some regular sugar. Let them cool off a little bit. Roll them in some regular sugar. I'll come back and do some of that with you. And yeah, then we'll crack one open and have a look inside. All right, here we go. So they've all been fried up. So have yourself a bowl of sugar. You can use regular sugar. You could use sugar mixed with cinnamon. I think those are the only 2 I would recommend, but hey, if you're adventurous and you want to play around, go ahead. And I also looked up online here. I'm going to start rolling them in the sugar as I talk. So just roll them in the sugar, let them have cooled off a few minutes so the sugar doesn't melt, and then just put them in a bowl and they're ready to serve. Like I said, these are best served fresh. I have yet to discover a way to store these. I've been making these for 20 years. I still don't, I've tried storing them in plastic containers, in tins. I've tried just leaving them out. Nothing seems to keep them, as fresh as when first baked. I find if I put them in a tin or in plastic, the sugar starts to melt for some reason. If I just leave them out, they start to get hard. So you know what? Just make enough for when you want to serve it. These are nice at a brunch or coffee. So that's that. I looked up online. So they can be called krempeln, which is Krempeln, or krapfen, which is Krapfen. But I know my mother, who was born in Germany and lived there till she was 21, called them krepeln. So maybe it's just a regional thing. Maybe it's, a slang. So, but that's because that's what she called them. That's what I grew up calling them. So yeah, you just roll these in the sugar. They're still slightly warm. The outside should be nice and crisp. Serve them right away like this. And I'm sure everybody will love them. So let me just bring one over here and crack one open for you guys. So as you can see, it's a nice dough on the inside, nice light dough. The outside is a little crispy, the inside is chewy. It's still a little warm right now. I mean, that's not going to stop me, I'm going to eat it anyway. But there you go. So if you like this recipe, please like the video. If you ring the little bell, if you push on the little bell on your screen, you'll get notifications when a new video comes up. I've got some other ones I'm wanting to make. When we're closer to the summer, there's a great recipe for lemon soup, citronensuppe, which actually you serve cold, which I love. It seems to be a love or hate thing. People either love it or hate it. I love it. Yeah, so I've got that. I've got some other, I'd love to make a plum cake for you guys. Anyway, there's so many more recipes to do. So if you like my videos, please subscribe to the channel. It helps me, and it helps me keep being able to bring you new content. And as well, right now, we're going through the coronavirus, so I just want to say to everyone to do the best you can. Don't drive yourself nuts. Do follow the instructions that you're seeing on TV or online. Do the best you can to stay safe. And I wish you all the best. Give these a try since you're going to be home probably for a while anyway. This is a great time to try new recipes. You can look back through all my recipes. Maybe there's something else you want to give a try. And have a great day. Bon appetit, and I will talk to you later. Bye bye. Auf Wiedersehen.